In the fall of 2011, the small city of Huntsville, Alabama was living through a quiet nightmare. Women from different neighborhoods began reporting late-night assaults. The stories had the same chilling pattern. A man luring victims when they were most vulnerable, walking home from work, entering their apartments, or even while jogging in dimly lit parks. Each account painted a picture of a predator who knew how to blend in. Victims remembered his voice, calm, steady, almost unnervingly polite. And they remembered his face, David Miller, a man well known around town as a mechanic who always had a smile and a wave for his neighbors. But behind that easygoing mask was something darker. Investigators believed David had been operating under the radar for months, maybe years. When DNA evidence tied him to at least 2 of the assaults, police finally made their move. His arrest sent shockwaves through the community. To many, his capture felt like the end of a long nightmare. For survivors, it was the fragile beginning of justice. David Miller's arrest was just the start. Prosecutors built their case meticulously. Survivor testimony, forensic evidence, timelines that lined up too neatly to be coincidence. He was facing multiple charges, including rape, aggravated assault, and unlawful restraint. But David wasn't the kind of man to accept his fate. In March 2012, just weeks before trial, Huntsville was hit by a severe thunderstorm. Lightning knocked out power across parts of the city, including the county jail. Amid the chaos, Miller found his chance. Details of what happened that night are still debated. Some believe he had help, others say it was sheer luck. What is certain is this: Miller overpowered a guard, slipped through a service exit, and vanished into the storm. The escape triggered a massive manhunt. Law enforcement set up checkpoints, deployed helicopters, and sent search dogs into the woods. News outlets covered every lead, and the public was warned. A dangerous fugitive was on the loose. Days later, hope of recapture dimmed when officers discovered a burned-out car abandoned on a rural road. Inside were charred remains, impossible to identify by sight. Papers found in the vehicle bore David Miller's name. Authorities announced what many wanted to believe: Miller had died trying to flee. The community breathed a sigh of relief. The case file was closed. But not everyone was convinced. A few detectives quietly suspected the fire was staged. They were right. For 5 years, David Miller was officially dead, but very much alive. Under the alias Mark Stevens, he resurfaced in Miami, Florida. With a forged social security card and a fake driver's license, he reinvented himself as a used car dealer. To outsiders, he was just another ambitious man chasing the American dream. But David lived like a ghost. He never allowed photographs, never renewed friendships, and rarely spoke of his past. He avoided large gatherings, flinched at the sound of sirens, and constantly scanned crowds as though expecting someone to recognize him. A neighbor later recalled, "He was friendly enough, but he had this nervous energy, like he was always waiting for someone to knock on his door." That knock finally came in 2017. During a federal sweep targeting fraudulent identities, Miller's fingerprints were flagged when matched against an old database entry. The FBI quickly connected Mark Stevens to the supposedly dead fugitive from Alabama. Federal marshals moved fast. They tracked him to a modest Miami apartment. The arrest was quiet, almost anticlimactic. As agents cuffed him, Miller smirked and muttered, "So, you finally caught me." David Miller was extradited back to Alabama. Once again, survivors who had once believed justice was gone forever filled the courtroom. Their voices were stronger now, hardened by years of waiting. One survivor, through tears, told the jury, "He thought he could run. He thought he could fake his death and leave us behind. But here we are, and he has to face us now." The trial was swift. The evidence that had once been paused now came to life again. The jury returned with a unanimous verdict: guilty on all counts of rape and assault. The judge sentenced David Miller to life in prison without the possibility of parole. For the first time, there was no storm, no loophole, no second chance. The man who tried to bury his name, who staged his death to escape justice, would spend the rest of his days behind bars. For the survivors, it wasn't the end of their pain, but it was proof that no matter how far someone runs, the truth will always surface.